Did you know that motorcycles make up only 3% of registered vehicles, but account for 14% of all traffic fatalities? Yeah, riding isn't just about looking cool, it's about survival. But here's the thing, if you don't ride, a lot of what motorcyclists do probably seems weird, maybe even reckless. Why do bikers swerve in their own lane like they're dodging imaginary obstacles? And why do they launch away like they're in a street race? In this video, we're breaking down 7 confusing things that only motorcyclists do. And trust me, by the end, you'll never look at bikers the same way again. Let's dive into it. Number 1. Hand signals. Ever seen a motorcyclist randomly sticking out their hand and wondered what the heck they were doing? Well, it's not just some secret biker wave. Motorcyclists use a whole set of hand signals to communicate with each other because, let's be real, shouting over the roar of an engine at 60 miles per hour isn't exactly an option. These signals can mean anything from warning about a speed trap ahead to telling another rider their blinker is still on. For example, if you see a rider tapping the top of their helmet, it's usually a heads up that there's a cop nearby. A left-hand wave with 2 fingers pointed down? That's a friendly nod to fellow bikers, almost like an unspoken rule of the road. But here's the problem. Hand signals aren't always the safest. They require taking a hand off the handlebars, which means less control over the bike, especially in emergency situations. In heavy traffic or high-speed conditions, even a split second without both hands on the bars could be a risk. Moreover, car drivers often have no clue what these signals mean, so they might misinterpret them or not even notice them at all. Studies have shown that miscommunication on the road is a leading cause of accidents, and with motorcycles being significantly smaller and harder to see than cars, relying on hand gestures alone can be risky. Number 2. Lane positioning. Ever noticed how motorcyclists never just ride dead center in a lane like cars do? Instead, they're constantly shifting positions, sometimes hugging the left, sometimes the right, and sometimes smack in the middle. This isn't random, it's a calculated move that helps riders stay safe. Good lane positioning is all about maximizing visibility, maintaining a safety buffer, and avoiding road hazards. For example, staying in the left portion of the lane gives a better line of sight around cars and makes a rider more visible to drivers. Shifting right might help avoid oil slicks that tend to collect in the center of the lane, and riding center can sometimes be the best choice when dealing with crosswinds or merging traffic. But here's where things get tricky. Bad lane positioning can actually put riders in more danger. If a motorcyclist stays in a car's blind spot too long, they're practically invisible. Positioning too far left near oncoming traffic increases the risk of a head-on collision if a distracted driver drifts over the line. And hugging the right too much? That can make it easier for cars to cut into a biker's space, thinking they have room to pass. Number 3. Standing on pegs. To the average driver, seeing a motorcyclist suddenly stand up on their pegs might look reckless, like they're about to pull a stunt. But for riders, it's a crucial technique. Standing on the pegs helps absorb shocks from potholes, railroad tracks, or uneven terrain, preventing the jolt from transferring directly to the spine. It's also a game changer for handling by shifting weight properly. Riders gain more control, especially when navigating rough roads, dirt trails, or even just avoiding unexpected obstacles. Moreover, it improves visibility. A quick stand can give a better view of traffic conditions ahead, helping riders anticipate dangers before they become a problem. That said, it's not always safe. In heavy traffic, a standing rider can confuse or startle drivers, leading to unpredictable reactions. Some might assume the rider is losing control, while others may not even notice the movement at all. Also, standing at high speeds can be risky. One sudden gust of wind or an unexpected bump can throw off balance, making recovery difficult. Number 4. Helmet on the ground. To most people, a helmet lying on the ground next to a parked motorcycle might just look like a lazy habit or a forgotten piece of gear. But in the motorcycling world, it can be a distress signal. Many riders know that placing a helmet on the ground, especially near the bike, is a recognized sign that they need help. It's an unspoken rule among bikers, a way to call for assistance without waving or yelling. This is especially useful in remote areas where a rider might be stranded with a mechanical issue or injury. However, not every motorcyclist places their helmet on the ground for that reason. Some do it to avoid hanging it on their handlebars, where it could fall, or to prevent wind from knocking their bike over if the weight shifts. But there's also a downside. Setting a helmet on rough pavement, dirt, or oil-stained roads can scratch the visor, damage the inner padding, or even compromise the shell if it's dropped too hard. Worse yet, some superstitious riders believe that putting a helmet on the ground invites bad luck, symbolizing a crash or a fall. Number 5. Delayed turn signals. Ever been behind a motorcyclist who flicks on their turn signal way later than you expected? It might seem like they're just being careless, but there's actually a reason behind it. Unlike cars, motorcycles don't have self-canceling turn signals. This means riders have to manually switch them off after completing a turn. If they forget, they risk confusing drivers around them. But on the flip side, turning them on too early can be just as dangerous. Motorcyclists often delay signaling until they're sure they're making a turn. This is because sudden lane changes, road hazards, or last-minute adjustments can force a rider to change their plan. If a biker signals too soon and then doesn't turn, drivers might assume they're unpredictable or even get frustrated, increasing the risk of dangerous maneuvers around them. Another factor is that riders need both hands for control. In tight turns or while shifting gears, signaling might take a back seat to handling the bike safely. While it's not ideal, this split-second delay in communication is sometimes unavoidable. Number 6. Engine braking. Ever been behind a motorcycle that suddenly slows down without its brake lights coming on? That's engine braking in action, and it's one of the most confusing things non-riders witness on the road. Unlike cars, motorcycles can slow down significantly just by rolling off the throttle, thanks to the resistance created by the engine. This technique is called engine braking, and while it's great for control and reducing wear on brake pads, it creates a major visibility issue for drivers behind. Since engine braking doesn't activate the brake light, it can catch other motorists off guard, making them think the rider is still moving at full speed. This can lead to dangerous situations, especially if a car driver isn't paying full attention or is following too closely. Riders use this method to maintain smoother control, especially in corners or when coming to a stop. But it's one of those things that makes motorcycles seem unpredictable to the average driver. Number 7. Speeding away from stoplights. To the average driver, a motorcyclist blasting off the line as soon as the light turns green might seem reckless, or like they're trying to show off. But in reality, there's a good reason for this behavior. It's often about safety. When a motorcycle is stuck in a pack of cars at an intersection, it's vulnerable. The biggest threat? Distracted drivers who might not see them or react in time. By accelerating quickly, riders create a safety bubble, separating themselves from surrounding traffic and reducing the risk of being rear-ended or sideswiped by a car changing lanes unpredictably. That said, excessive speed off the line can be dangerous, especially if the rider miscalculates road conditions, debris, or other vehicles running the red light. A responsible rider will get ahead just enough to stay safe without turning every stoplight into a drag race.